In the future, entertainment will be randomly generated.
Let me tell you a story about the highway noise here in Colorado. I spent 5 years in Georgia. It was filled with violence, guns, discrimination, crime, intolerance, and hatred. That was the place I called home for most of my life. There was a high school boy in Georgia that came to me one day after school. He was trying to ignore the bullying that his classmates were screaming at him. They had raised their voices, insulted him, and made fun of him. He was screaming at me like a dog. Screaming and screaming. With a smile on his face, my job was to shut him up, and to make him cry like a baby. I looked at him and wondered why he was so mad. Was he really scared, or was he just screaming like he was? I tried to say to him to stop screaming, but I couldn't tell him to stop. Why, was he just screaming at the pollution of the city? I wanted to tell him to stop screaming, but what good would that have done? He would just scream louder. This would be good to tell to others, to make them learn to change their minds. Then I was a preacher. The towns and highways started to fill in. This time I was in a church. It was just before a wedding. The mother of the bride was having problems with the wedding ceremony being difficult for her young daughter. A preacher came in and talked with her and then preached on how her daughter was going to be worried about the future if she married the guy in the groom's shirt. The preacher talked about how she would be unhappy with the words and actions of the groom because of the speech he gave at the bride's father's house. The preacher talked about her love of wearing makeup. The bride cried on the day of the wedding. She ran away from her fiancés and refused to marry him. My brother, who was the pastor, said he could not stop the wedding. This was a different time, and it was a different place. But the preacher's words stopped the wedding. He said that they would never be happy. His words changed the marriage and they were divorced 3 months later. The preacher's words had caused her to be tormented. That is what the poison of hate can do.